session. So my name is Rohit. So along with me, I have Meet. So as part of our enterprise security series, so it's been a four sessions. So today we are going to talk about mastering risk analysis. And it's like RBA and adaptive response part. So these are not notables. Okay. So these are RBA things. So Amit is going to help you to understand what is the difference, how you can set up and all these things. So maybe he having some demo around it. And saying that, so if you missed any session in the past, so you can feel free to go to previous session. Recordings are here, and there is a YouTube channel available for Pune user group. So you can just go there, and not only Splunk ES series, so we have started some Splunk Open Telemetry part as well. So you can have a look on those videos, and you can go ahead. So and before we start, I would like to shout out Meet because it's been four sessions, and he's going to give one more session on enterprise security. If you feel anytime, okay, hey, you had some questions and all these things, always try to reach out to us. So we will try to help our level best, whatever we are aware about it. And yeah, that's it. So that's it. I will hand it over to Meet. So he is going to talk about RBA and authority response. Over to you, Meet.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rohit. Let me share my screen. Let me know if once you're able to see the screen.
Good.
Okay. Awesome. So today's session will be on the risk-based alerting and the adaptive response actions. Previously, we covered the other frameworks called Notable, Assets and Identity, and Threat Intelligence, which are three of the frameworks, three out of five, I would say. And the last two, RBA and the uh, AR actions, is something we'll go through today. Uh, yeah, as Rohit was mentioning, this is Meet. I'm working as industry consulting manager for entity data. I have around 7 years of experience with Splunk things, and majority on Splunk core and the enterprise security, and recently with the Oli things as well. And yeah, we have Rohit, who is working as the senior associate at TIA, specifically on the observability specialist role, helping the customer, with all these Splunk things. So yeah, I don't think there are any boundaries with Splunk. We always say it's a star Splunk star. Whatever questions, you just throw it on us. It doesn't matter the product. So yeah. Today's objectives are we'll go through the basic of RBEA, some of the terminologies, implementation methodologies. If you're planning to have that available in your environment or for your customers, something around AR actions or adaptive response actions framework, benefits and use case scenarios of both, and best practices as we went through for the other frameworks as well. So, all right, let me start with the introduction, the overview of the RPA, what it is. So, as the name suggests, it's circling around the risk. Whenever we say in security, how much risky this thing is, or if we are talking about this user or this asset, how much risky this can be. Or you may want to use this terminology in terms of incidents as well. What's the risk level if these things are going around on your AD server or on your laptop or something. So, as it suggests, it's a security alerting approach focused on the risk scoring instead of traditional one-to-one alerting. So, what majority, or I would rather say all of the customers are using ES is to send a notable event or create a notable event with defined urgency being high, critical, medium, whatsoever. They have their SOC team looking over the alerts, and then the investigation flow starts. But the traditional way, that now we should call it as a traditional or a historical, I would even say, is because you have one alert which looks over five six things, or which tries to correlate between two three types of events, be it firewall or your AD, or something from your EDR or DLP data, and you have one use case which is defined. As soon as all of those conditions are met, it will give you some results, and it will also throw a notable. So that's the traditional approach. Why something like RBA as a framework was introduced is, along with raising the notable, or in some cases instead of raising the notable, why don't you assign something called as risk score to that particular object? Now, when I say object, it can be an asset or it can be an identity as well. Meaning it can be my laptop or a user's laptop, or it can be the user itself. So some of the use cases can be, let's say if it is AD, the AD will be triggering on the identity itself, in terms of assets and identity. AD alerts would be majority on the identity. So let's say meet.sha at the rate blah blah blah, or meet.sha something, it will alert you. So that's also an object. Or from the assets, it can also throw an alert based on my laptop, that some Python scripts is running on, or there is a low and slow attack where we have noticed three failed login attempts continuously since last 6 or 7 hours, every 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So such alerts are there, but what it does not help you is with the correlation of the alert itself. So one thing is you correlate between your log sources, AD, EDR, TLP, your firewall events, and so on. And one thing which is also important is correlating the notable events as well. So let's say in last 24 hours, there are 6 or 7 notables, or which includes user as make.sha, or which includes my asset. Correlating that as well is very much important, and that's where the terminology called risk score comes into the picture. I'll give you one simple example, which I think I mentioned in one of the earlier sessions as well. Imagine three different use cases, where one is looking over, the uh, invalid SSH attempts on specific instance. So you have one use case where you are checking on the Linux or the Windows events, and if there are, of course, if it is SSH on the Linux machines, if there are failed login attempts, failed SSH attempts, you throw one alert. Second use case that you have enabled in your environment is someone trying to gain a root access. So usually the instance, the users are logging with their own users only, or through a service users only. You are not permitting the root level of access, but you have one use case written where it's, if someone tries to gain such access, it will give you a notable altogether. And the third use case is someone trying to access some privilege file from that instance. So imagine some host which has financial data or some HR data, and if someone is trying to access those data directory, directly, I would say, after SSH, you have an alert which will give you a notable altogether. Now, imagine a scenario where at 1 o'clock you got one alert that, hey, someone is trying to have multiple failed SSH attempts over here at 1 o'clock. At 1:15 or 1:20, you're getting a different notable that, hey, someone is trying to gain a root access on that instance. And at 1:35, you got the third use case triggered, or a third notable triggered, where someone is trying to access that privilege file. Everything is good. You got three notables, which is good. But what would happen is, depending on the criticality as well as the team members which are there in the SOC, these three notables can be assigned to multiple users as well. Now, let's say all three are critical, or two are critical, one is high. as soon as one critical alert was there in your environment, a SOC engineer or SOC analyst at 105 after 5 minutes gets that notable assigned on his name, and he starts his investigation. At 115 or 120, as soon as there was a second notable trigger, a second SOC analyst will also start investigation, same as the third one. But these three investigations would have different run books or different playbooks per se. So, any organization would have their playbooks guiding if this alert is triggered, what all things should be checked first. Now, the one who is looking over the third alert at 135 or at 140 may not have an idea that someone is trying to gain a privilege file access. But you know what? Just before 20 minutes, there was one another alert or another notable which is assigned to some different engineer, and for which he is not much aware about, because someone else is taking care of that alert or the notable altogether. So, hey, 20 minutes back, there was one alert for root access, or 35 minutes back, there was some alert on the SSH attempts as well. So, one or the last analyst who is looking over this use case of privilege file may not have, eventually after 5, 7, 10, 15 minutes he may get an idea, because it's a critical alert. He might be chatting with at the internal group that I got this alert, and someone else may or may not even say that, hey, if this is for the same asset, I also got this alert. So there can be some issues, and this will of course increase the resolution time, as well as it does not really correlate between two notables. Now to fix that, RBA comes into the picture. What you do is you increase the risk score as soon as an alert is triggered. So let's say at 1 o'clock we are increasing a risk score by 20 for the SSH attempt. For the second use case, for root attempt, we are increasing the risk score by 30 or 35, because gaining a root access is more critical compared to just the SSH. So we are increasing the risk score by 35. So one was 20, second is 35, and the third one for the privilege file, we are again increasing it by 30. So let's say if we sum this up, 20, 35, and 30, it would be around 85. Now you will have two benefits of this. One, you'll be running one additional alert in your environment, which will look over the overall risk score for all of the objects in last 30 minutes. So in this case, when I'm looking over the overall risk score for last 30 minutes or 1 hour, it would be 20 plus 35 plus 30. And you have defined a condition that if the risk score goes beyond 50, give me a critical alert or a high alert right away. Now this alert, which sums up, again, this risk scoring is based on the time. At the end, it's a index, right? Index equal to risk, it will log an event after all. So if you see, it will have 85 and the condition which is greater than 50, it will give you a fourth alert stating that the overall risk score for this specific asset is more than 50. But now this alert is based on multiple different alerts as well. It's not just based on SSH attempt or the root access. It is the combination of three different use cases or the notables altogether. And so this is the first benefit, that you can schedule another set of alert. And by the way, if you're installing ES, it has a predefined alert that risk score exceeded for last 24 hours. What it does is, by default, it will look for any identity or any asset with more than 100 as the risk score in last 24 hours. You can enable it, and you can update it as well, as an when you need. So that is one benefit. Now you can even schedule another alert, which is now a correlation of the notable altogether. And the second benefit is, through the risk analysis dashboard, or through the incident review dashboard in the current versions of the ES, you can directly have the history of the risk score for that specific asset. So now when the third analyst gets the alert, the first thing he or she will be checking is what's the risk score pattern for these assets in last 24 hours or last 7 days. What all alerts have contributed in increasing the risk score for this. Now, what will happen as soon as you open, and we'll go in the demo where I'll showcase this practically. As soon as you open the dashboard, what you will be able to see is for that particular asset, there where a pattern or a graph where the risk score is being increased. So now within a minute or two, the third analyst will have an idea that it's not just the privilege file alert that is critical on this asset, but there are 3 or 4 different alerts as well, which was triggered within 30-40 minutes. So this is something more compared to a simple playbook or so. So that's where the concept of the RBA comes into the picture, where you are correlating multiple notable or the use cases and getting one additional alert, which we call risk alert, which is based on combination of different alerts altogether. So it aggregates multiple low fidelity events into meaningful risk-driven notables. So it may even happen that you may choose not to raise a notable altogether and just be dependent on the RBA for few of the use cases, but we'll go through that as well. So that's one point. The third point being reduce the alert noise and highlights the critical threats. You may have a customer with 150 200 notables a day, and if you ask the customer how many of you are actually checking or how many are you are actually looking by the SOC team, or so they will say probably 15-20 a day. So you can directly say that what are we doing with other 180 alerts? Because if you are not looking over, it's not just that you want to delete that also, but you can then propose a RBA framework through which it not just creates the notable, but it also increases the risk score. And you can see the history of the alerts as well. Even though it's informative or the medium or high severity alert, you can see that, hey, that was something happened on last Tuesday on the same asset by the same technique or so. So it helps you looking over the history and looking over how many other use cases are also triggered on that specific asset or identity. So that's also one of the benefit, and it provides a context across the user systems and the other risk objects over the time. So be it a same asset and multiple user, or it can be for the same user that I am trying to logging into multiple assets altogether. So the risk alert will be on my username. I may try to log in, let's say 15 VMs in my environment, and there can be 15 notables, and everyone will try to see what Meet is doing on this instance or what Meet is doing on this instance. But they may not have idea that, hey, it's one user only trying to get into multiple instance altogether. So the RBA or the risk score on Meet will now help in a better incident response. I would say. Any questions so far on this from anyone? Does the explanation make sense? Any questions? Okay, I would take that as a no. All right, let me continue. In that case, okay. So this is some some I would say graph or something I got from the dev.splunk.com, which explains this might be now more relatable compared to if I have just jumped into this one. So there can be multiple add-ons which helps you assigning the risk score through programmatically or through adaptive response actions. Then there can be some add-ons as well which retrieves the risk score by searching on some of the lookups, and the DA as well will help over here. Probably let me just dive directly into the demo, which will make more sense. Okay. Open content, content management, as well as the risk analysis updates. So as I was mentioning, I'm right now on the incident review page. Give me one moment. It's still loading. Just give me one moment. I'm not sure why this is giving me a ping. Okay, so as mentioning, risk is one of the adaptive response sections only. So if we see likewise, we create the notable, which we covered in the previous session. We can also create adaptive response section as the risk analysis, where what we do is we provide one message which is optional, and we provide a risk score. So again, now the question comes: what should be the risk score? Should it be like 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, or 80, or what would be the case? This really depends on the framework that you have designed or the parameters that you want to consider. Overall, let's say if you are defining from 1 to 100, a risk score of 80 can be for the critical, or 90 can be for a critical, versus 10 or 20, which can be for the informational or the low severity alerts. Or if you are defining from 1 to 10, 8 can be very much important for me. So usually what I've seen out of the box, Splunk alerts comes in the range of 1 and 100, if I'm not wrong. But you can choose to have it between 1 to 10 or 1 to 200, or whatsoever you like. There is no one way if you ask any consultant for this. Some customer go with 1 to 10, other may go with 1 to 100. Now, for this use case, let's say activity from the expired user identity, this can be a critical because the user is expired, but there is some activity found in the identity management data model. So this can be considered as a critical, and we are increasing the risk score by 80. Now, for what field, the risk object field is the user, and we have to specify if it's a user or asset or what that specific is. Now, this would be, as a part of the search results only. So if you see the search, it is renaming the expired user as user, and what all results it will get, what all rows it will get as the result. It will increase the risk score by 80 to all. Now, this again links with the assets and identity framework, which is why I was mentioning that framework A and I will always touch base on all of the other frameworks as well, be it notable or be it risk analysis. If you do not have information over here as a part of this, you can use the lookups in order to increase the risk score. So you may have the IP address information but not the user information, or you may have let's say DNS value, but you may not have the actual URL or the asset name linked with that. So you can there use the assets and identity framework and increase the risk score accordingly. As soon as you increase this one, for whatsoever result set it got, it will increase this row score as 80 for all of those users. Now, if we see, let's say some alerts which has the risk object. Okay, if you see this alert, threshold exceeded over previous 7 days for this user. If you see the risk score and the risk event, if click on this and say risk event timeline, this will give you that view or the historical view that I was mentioning earlier, that you can see how many other alerts have been fired for the same identity. So if you see the risk event timeline, we'll be able to see that on 31st, there was some malicious PowerShell process for which an alert was triggered for the same user. Now, this can be from some different alert as well, which is like login attempts for this user from geographically distance location from source location. So now, if you see these three alerts are different, or rather, I think one and third are same, but the second one is different over here. So what this helps you is when you are starting an investigation over here, you can literally see that in last 24 hours what all activities or what all use cases have been triggered for the same user, which is fyo dor at blah 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 .com. So for this identity, there have been this many alerts triggered as well, which increased this much, or this many risk scores in last 24 hours or so. And you can even change the thread topology as well, and you can use the custom time, or you just want to scroll down or scroll up with your mouse to see extra details. So this is something similar to the example I was mentioning about SSH attempt, root attempt, and the privilege file. Consider this as the SSH, this as the root, and this as the privilege file. If you are starting your analysis over here, first thing is you can check, are there any other alerts in recent time? If so, you may want to club those alerts as well. Okay, so that is one thing you can do. Next is on the risk analysis, which is one of the dashboard, again, out of the dashboard of the enterprise security, which will give you an overview of your entire environment. You may have seen a similar kind of dashboard for the threat intelligence, where you see that most active threat sources or the lookups over here. This is similar to that, but for the risk scores, where you can have different source. You may want to choose source is nothing but your use cases only, or your risk object type. So you wanna look over the system or user or some hash values or whatsoever. What by default it is showing me right now is for all of the objects in last 7 days, what's the view. So I can see that for this risk object called administrator, which is a user, it's not a system, of course, the name itself suggests, this much of risk score was increased through 53 unique sources or the use cases, you can say. So I can put that into a simple sentence. In last 7 days, a user named administrator got triggered or contributed in 53 alerts and increased the risk score by 322,000 as the risk score effectively. So you can see most active objects, and you may want to have a look over the risk analysis as well, that what are the objects, be it user or be it your systems, what are the most active or the most risky assets in my environment. And on the right side, you can see which are the most active sources as well, which are triggering most amount of risk, or which are increasing most amount of risk. So you can see that you know Windows uh, uh, login binary. I'm not sure. I'm sorry, I might not be expert over here, but Windows login binary in non-standard path rule is some use case which actually increased the risk score by this much in last 7 days, and that too just on the two risk objects only. So then you may want to deep dive into those as well. Down the line, you can even see the risk modifier over time. So, what's your risk scoring pattern over here? Now, this instance was specifically created recently only. So, you can see that on 30th of July, all of the risk score was increased. Over here, you can see by annotations as well, the MITRE technique or technique names or some different annotations as well, you can filter out from. So let's say Windows Defender aviation techniques. This links with the annotations that you mentioned over here. If you remember, we went through the in the last session as well. So if you are specifying the technique IDs over here, you can even filter out based on that. And again, on the similar line, you can even see the risk modifier for the annotations and the threat objects. So this will give you a overall picture of your environment and security environment. Okay, next is on the risk factor. Now, even a situation that everything is running fine, you have now started to increase the risk score as well for your multiple alerts altogether. But you want to provide some custom conditions that hey, if this user is involved or an asset from this geolocation is involved, the risk score should be doubled, right? It can be as simple as if the executive or the director level of the users are involved, you want to double the risk score. Even though it's 30, I want as 60. Or even if it is 5, I want that as 10. Or you may even want to just increase the risk score with static value as well. So, add 5 if it is from this location. So 10 plus 5 or 50 plus 5 or whatsoever. We call this as a risk factor. So if you go to configure and risk factor editor, ES comes with some of the conditions out of the box, which are of course disabled by default, but you will get an idea. Let's say the very first one, increase the risk when the user is some kind of admin. Now you may ask that where Splunk ES will get this information that this is admin or not, if the user category is privileged or not. So the answer is again the assets and identity framework. What it will do is, even if you get the user as the outcome of this search, it will link this user with the identity lookup, and it will try to see the user category of that user. So if the user category, which is as a part of the result from this use case, if the user category is privileged, it will multiply the risk score by 1.5. So if it is 20, it will do 30. If it is 10, it will do 15, right? So you can choose to multiply it or add the risk score with a static value. So I can just choose to add with 1.5 or multiply with whatever risk score it is. It's not just that for 80 or 20 whatsoever, but whatever the search is, or this risk factor binds with all of your searches which has the risk actions enabled. So it does not matter what search it is triggering for, but if the user is of privilege, it will multiply by 1.5. So there can be 50 searches where you have enabled the risk scoring mechanism, and this will be applied on all of those 50. Does not matter what search or what use case is. For all of that, it will always try to check the user category and increase that. Uh, Similarly, if it's a contractor user, you want to add the risk score by 5. Or if it is a priority user, you may want to multiply it by 1.25. So you can define such custom conditions over here as well, and this will be applicable across all of the correlation searches. So that's something on the risk factor. It doesn't just dependent on the static value that hey, just increase 10 10. You can have your custom conditions as well. All right. Then okay, what was next? Okay, some of the terminologies: risk score. So that is whatever score or the number that you add always. Something on the risk index. So index equal to risk is out of the box index with enterprise security. So as soon as it increases the risk score, it will do nothing but raising an event or dumping an event into index equal to risk, based on which the risk data model itself also works. So you will see two things: one, index equal to risk as well, which is shipped, but you will also see risk as the data model as well in your environment, and the risk factor which we just went through. Okay, now something on the implementation methodology. If you want to implement this, how you should start. One quick start is you enable the core risk rules and monitor the results. So you may have like 80 or 100 correlation search active in your environment. The ones which are most active, you can just start raising the risk score as well. Remember not to disable the notable as the alert actions. The next slide itself is RBA is not the replacement of the notables. For some critical alerts, you may still want to have the notable went through right away, and for some of the others you may choose to remove the notable as the alert actions or the adaptive response actions, and just increase the risk score, because now you have another set of alert which looks over the risk score for last 1 hour or for last 6 hours, and raise a notable if the risk score goes beyond that. So always remember that it's not the replacement of the notable, but this helps with correlating multiple notables as well. For some use cases, just like this one, if I would be there and if there is any activity from the expired user, I would raise the notable right away. I would not just be dependent on the RBA framework, because it of course it increases the risk score, but based on this, a separate notable may or may not get created, because then RBA is dependent on multiple risk scores from multiple use cases and not just one. So I would choose to have the notable, as well as I would choose to have the risk score increased as well. So one thing, while you are starting implementing the RBA, you can choose to enable the risk rules for the core searches, and not just disable the notable altogether. The next step is of course tuning and development, because as soon as you increase, you may get scared by this dashboard as well, that hey, there is a risk score, overall risk score of 15,000 or 20,000 for all of my assets. Now what should I do? So it's all about tuning at the end of the day. So you may choose to decrease the risk score for some of the low priority alerts, or you may even choose to update the risk factors as well accordingly. So once you just increase the risk score, you can then tune it. This might be the part, or these two steps might be the part which will take most amount of time, because creating additional adaptive response action is just like 30 seconds of work, but it will take a good amount of efforts when you want to tune that and when you actually want to productionize that. Okay, then it's production readiness, build the dashboards and operational workflows on top of risk analysis, which is the out of the box dashboard. So once you have the risk alerts in place, or risk scoring in place, you may want to choose how you want to get alerted. As I was mentioning, there is one search risk score exceeded in last 24 hours. Let me show you that as well. Any questions while this is loading from you? Okay. So if you see, there is something called risk threshold exceeded for object over 24-hour of period. This is the out of the box correlation search you will find in ES, which I think is enabled, I think by default. Yeah. And if you see, what it does is based on the risk data model, let it load. But yeah, from the risk data model, it will get the risk score from it and for all of the objects. And if the risk score exceeds the risk threshold, the by default threshold is 100 because it follows the 1 to 100 mechanism. But you may want to choose to update two things. One, this runs, I think every 5 minutes. Yeah, this runs every 5 minutes, looking over this much of time. I think this is one day. Yeah, the name itself suggests for last 24-hour of period. But you may want to choose to clone this alert and just look for last 1 hour only, or last 4 hours only, or you can have three or four similar alerts where one looks for last 24 hours, but the another also looks for last 4 hours worth of data, which has a different threshold. So let's say 20 as the threshold, but it just looks for last 4 hours, and you get an alert quickly. So, and this is, of course, a standard practice as well, where you clone this alert and schedule it for multiple cron schedules, which looks over a different set of time range. One default of 24 hours, but the other for 1, 4, 6, whatsoever you choose for. So that's also one thing you would want to do once you are in the production or the tuning phase. Okay. And yeah, the last one is mature operations continuously refine and expand the RBA detection. So if you have just enabled the risk scoring for 20, 30 out of 100 production alerts, you may then want to have it available for the others as well. And yeah, again, RBA is not the replacement. So please do not just disable notable from your alert. Do not do like this and just have the risk analysis, because there can be chances that you may just miss the alert if you are solely dependent on the RBA. So it's not the replacement, but it works along with the notables. All right. Next is the adaptive response framework. I will take a pause and confirm if there are any questions. Okay, I will take that as a no. Next is AR framework, a framework to trigger an automated or manual response actions in the Splunk Enterprise Security. So you may have heard about alert actions, in the Splunk core, which sends you an email, or which pops up one message, or you may choose to run some scripts as well. Adaptive response framework is a similar one where you can do the same set of flows over there. Plus, you can choose to have that actions available over here as well. I'll give you an example of this. So let's say platform like ServiceNow, which you are using as the standard incident response tool, ServiceNow or Jira or whatever you are using. You may choose to have an automated Jira creation or automated ServiceNow incident creation as soon as you get an result in the correlation search, or you may choose to have a notable created, and based on the analysis of the SOC folks, you may choose to have that action available over here as well. So you do not want 100 incidents created in ServiceNow all day, but you may just want to have a process where someone really looks over in this Splunk itself, and if he or she feels this can be a true positive, then it creates one incident by clicking over here. So adaptive response actions is nothing but some things where you can where you can add automated workflow. So let's say based on some firewall events, you are recognizing some IP address which are marked as malicious in your IOCs. You may choose to run the adaptive response actions in such a way that it will trigger a script which will call your firewall services through API. You provide that IP address over here, and it will block the traffic right away. So that is what you can do through AI actions. So you don't want to be dependent on the security folks to look over after 2 hours or 3 hours, because 2 3 hours is a long time. Whereas you just want to have an automated flow where it will just block the email ID or block the IP address, or disable the user altogether if you think that there are too many notables, or there are too many or too much risk score as well in the environment. You may just want to choose and disable the user altogether if the risk score is more than 500. So yeah, it executes the predefined actions like enrichment, containment, or the notification. So enrichment is something: I got this IP address, I need some additional information from who is, where is the data center where this is located, or who owns this domain, and so on. So enrichment is something you can do based on AR. Second is containment, the example which I was mentioning about disabling the user, or running some scripts and so on. Or it can be just the notification as well, like raising a cheetah ticket or raising a service now incident altogether. So it executes those actions, and it supports workflow automation by integrating with SOAR and some third-party tools as well. So you may choose to run the SOAR playbooks, or you may choose to define those playbooks as the outcome of the correlation search in the adaptive response actions. So if you see, uh, if you're installing some of the add-ons like Tenable or ServiceNow, you can see some AR actions out of the box as well. So a Defender, Advanced Hunting, or you get the additional vulnerability details for that specific asset or the IP address, or you may choose to ping something, or you want to send this to UBA, and so on, or you may just want to call some webhook. So yeah, so this is one where it automatically creates something, and you can even choose to have that available over here as well. So you can create some actions, and some custom actions are also possible through some scripts and all, where you can have an option that open who is information, where it goes through who is dot org slash that IP address or the search string, or just Google Maps. You just want to open that latitude, longitude, which are available in the notable in the Google Maps altogether. So some custom AR actions are also possible, where it does not triggered automatically, but you have that available as an actions which someone can, which a human can do by clicking that. So yeah, that's what AR action is. Again, some graphical form, which probably I'll share the deck or the link in the YouTube video when we share. You can just go through the deck, or probably it's just from dev.splunk.com as well, where you can see benefits and the use cases for this. It significantly reduces the alert volume and the analysis fatigue. So okay, so I got this slide for RBA and AR action both. So this is more on the RBA. It significantly reduces the alert volume in the environment. If of course for the low fidelity alert, if you are removing the notable, so let's say you may make a decision that all of the notables which are being triggered as the informative or low, I just want to have a risk score increased. I do not want 200 notables, because that's too much. No one is even looking over the low, informative, and medium set of alerts. So you may choose to just have the risk score increased over there, because everyone are just looking over high end criticals. So it significantly reduced. With this, what the benefit is that you are still logging an event somewhere as an outcome of that use case, but you are not generating a notable altogether. It speeds up the investigation and context rich notable. So as I was showing, you can see the history of that. So it helps with speeding up the investigation by collating the notables, or alerts, I would say. It enables the automated or semi-automated threat response. So this is more on the adaptive response sections. where it helps you with automating something through some scripts also, and it improves the SOC efficiency and of course reducing the mean time to response altogether. All right, something on the best practices and tuning. Start with a small set of rules for the high value risk role, and you grow it eventually. So as I was mentioning in one of the implementation strategy, you enable the risk rule for the core rules altogether as a quick start. Then you tune it, monitor the dashboards, and refine the score continuously. So, in the initial set of weeks or months, you will have to come on this dashboard, or you may choose to even have your custom dashboards as well. But define what is a high risk for me. What's the risk score that is high? It can be like 50 as the risk score in last 2 hours, or 100 or 150 in last 4 hours or 24 hours or something. So you'll have to define those conditions as well, but don't just create or enable this as well, like 3 4 alerts altogether, because it will, of course, it's an addition to the other notables as well. So from the very first day, do not just enable the risk rule, but just have the risk score increased. You then figure out what's my risk score, what's the pattern I can go with, or what's the number I can go with, and then have this enabled in your environment. So monitor the dashboards and refine the scores continuously, and this also means that refining the scores for the correlation searches as well. So if you feel that I have assigned 10 as the risk score for this use case, that might be or might not be good as well. So you refine that and use the adaptive response to automate repetitive investigation tasks, and something like blocking the email ID if it is found as phishing, or blocking the IP address, or disabling the user are the standard use cases I've seen for the multiple customers enabling. So yeah, as soon as you automate that, you'll have less number of alerts, of course, to look for, and you can even prevent something big to be happen in your environment. So yeah, that's something on RPA and the adaptive response. I'll share some of the links, or you can just even Google it. Risk-based framework in Splunk. There are good Lenten documents as well, which will help you with RBA altogether, with some nice graphics as well. I went through most of this documentation, so it will definitely help you to understand the terminology and how you should kick off the journey. And there are some RBA community and the GitHub documentation as well, which you can go through. So yeah, that's it from my end. Any questions? Sorry, my health is not so good. So okay, I think there are some in the uh, chat as well. How you rate Spring Market as many SIM remote like Palo Alto, XIM, Google Chronicle, Azure, and Home Market? Okay, let's take this question probably in sometime, Steve. This can be, of course,